What causes inflation to go up or down? We're going to answer that question in this video. Okay, let's rock. Let's talk about inflation and what the heck causes it to go up or down. Okay, generally the short answer to that question is this, and simply this. When the prices of the materials of products and labor costs go up, it inevitably makes things go up. That's what inflation is. That's as easy as I can make it. As time goes, everybody wants to make more, so wages go up, materials end up costing more because the new equipment costs more and the labor's costing more to run that equipment. You know, all the parts and the commodities are going up. Everything just keeps going up, right? It's like the water level's just rising. That's inflation. So understanding what makes it go up is very important if you're going to understand about saving your money, investing your money, and being able to protect your money so that as time goes, your purchasing power doesn't diminish too much, okay? And you want to understand that. I mean, the last thing you want to do is work your entire life and have your money deflate in value so much that when you retire, you basically don't have enough to live the rest of your life out. And I know it sounds kind of scary, but it's the truth. That's a possibility. And there's a lot of people that I know that are very conservative and they have saved money. And you know, they're paying their house down, they're paying their house off, whatever. And they're just like, look, I don't like to take a lot of risks like you do, Bayman. You're just different. I like to just be conservative. I like to just protect my money. I work hard for my money. But what those people don't understand, sadly, is that every single year, the purchasing power of their money it goes down. It's worth less. And even if the bank's giving you some interest, which it's hard to get any kind of higher interest rates with interest rates being as low as they are. So even if you had like $100,000 in the bank or $1 million in the bank, they're not going to pay you a ton of interest. And from last I checked, the amount of interest that they pay you doesn't even negate the inflation percentage that happened during that year. Here's an example. If I say, what does that mean? Okay, I'll explain it. Let's just assume that in the last year, inflation went up 3%. I can tell you right now it's gone up a lot more than that. But let's just assume that it was only 3%. Well, maybe you had your money in the bank in a CD or something, and they were bragging about paying you 1% or 1.5%, which is probably high. Well, guess what? They paid you 1% or 1.5%, but inflation went up 3%. The difference between those two is how much your money deflated. That means your purchasing power is less. So in that particular instance, your $100 bill might only buy, say, $98 or $98.50 worth of the same stuff a year later. I know it's scary. So imagine if you go all the way back. Let's flash back to 1970. It's a very important year because there's things that happened around 1970, like gold getting taken off the gold standard. Nixon took it off the gold standard, so it was now legal for Americans to own gold again, right? And so people started buying gold because it was a hedge, a protection layer against inflation. And you're like, well, how? Well, we know that gold, there's only so much of it on planet Earth. So it's a limited resource. And since the beginning of time, people have always thought and believed that it's a store of value. It's worth money, right? All the empires, the Roman Empire, all the kings and queens of England, everybody in the world was trading silver and gold. It was just known. And it's instilled in us. And even when we see gold and silver, it makes us smile. It's shiny, right? We love it. It just looks valuable. So people respect it as a store of value. So when we were able to buy that, people started noticing as time went that the price of gold was actually keeping up, if not slightly beating inflation. What that meant was if you were like super ultra conservative and you had a bunch of money in the bank, it would be better off for you back then, like with the last 50-year track record, to have invested your money into gold and just sat on it. And so let's look at it just strictly numbers. I know some of you like science, so let's look at math and science and just understand it, right? It's more math actually. I don't know, science too maybe. So anyway, an ounce of gold roughly in 1970 was about $100. And today, I'm just gonna round to the nearest 100, it's about $1,700. So it's worth 17 times more 50 years later. So let's just have these couple examples. In your safe, back in 1970, assuming you were around back then, you were alive back then, if not, no big deal, you know, you were still a thought. Back in 1970, you had a $100 bill in your safe. And you also were smart enough to take another $100 bill that you had and you bought 1 ounce of gold. Well, which one buys you more stuff in the year 2020? If you opened up the safe, You left it alone for 50 years, you crack it open, and you open it up and you grab the $100 bill. What's it buy you today? Okay? Buys you $100 worth of stuff, which, by the way, as you will find out, is significantly less than what that gold coin buys. So assuming you can sell the gold coin for what it's worth, about $1,700, which you can get pretty close to that, now your gold coin is actually worth $1,700. What can you buy with $1,700? A heck of a lot more than $100. And so understanding this basic concept is very important when you're understanding inflation and how it works. And you're sitting there saying, no, wait a second, that doesn't make sense. It's still a $100 bill. You're right, it's still a $100 bill. But one thing you might be forgetting was back in 1970, you probably could have bought like a can of soda for like 10 cents, okay? And that same can of soda, like at your local, quick trip stop or gas station, might be $1.50, like 15 times more for that same soda, right? That's inflation, and that inflation's happened over the years. So your purchasing power went down as a result of that. So it's important to understand things that cause inflation. Why does it go up? Why does it go down? I mean, supply and demand is a huge thing, right? So if a particular product decides to just go up in value, I mean, right now during the COVID pandemic, the first thing that comes to mind is freaking toilet paper is like in complete shortages, and there were people price gouging. God bless America. It's okay to price gouge in America, right? I guess. No, maybe not. Okay, well, people were trying to capitalize off that, okay? They truly were. And so you got this toilet paper that by the roll maybe was $1 normally. These people are getting $5 or $10 for a roll of freaking toilet paper. That's ridiculous. That's inflation. Now it's temporary, right? But understanding that supply and demand, right? The supply was low compared to what the demand was. And so that caused it. That's a hyperinflation, right? But that's because it became what people perceived as like an absolute necessity. So they were willing to pay for it. So imagine if like water became hard to get, right? What's a thing of bottled water worth, right? That's going to inflate. If all of a sudden water's hard to get, prices of water are going to go up, right? And so you want to be able to make sure you talk to your financial advisor. If I've piqued a lot of questions and interests, I'd be happy to answer. I'm not a financial advisor, but I do understand investments a lot because I have a lot of experiences with them. I have a lot of wins and a lot of failures, okay? So that's part of investing. You win and you lose, and you hope that in the end, you win more than you lose, so you make money, okay? So understanding that if you have money, extra money that you don't need for your living expenses, it's probably a good idea to go talk to your financial advisor and ask them questions and say, look, I was watching this video on YouTube and he talked about putting my money into other investments so I can hedge myself, protect myself against inflation, which is inevitable. It means it's gonna happen regardless of whether or not you like it or not, prices are gonna go up, okay? So what can you do to protect yourself with your hard-earned money? So me personally, not saying you have to do this, I like buying precious metals, I like buying gold and silver. I like having like a residential house, so residential real estate. I personally like commercial real estate. Right now, it's not necessarily the greatest investment because a lot of businesses are moving out of the shopping center, so probably not the best investment right now. I like cryptocurrency. I think the stock market will come back someday, but I think it's going to go through some tough times in the next few years. But I think that's probably a good investment. If you believe in America, maybe you look into bonds, right? Things like that. So there's so many different, these are all called asset classes. Every sector in a sense, everything I named off in a sense is its own asset class. So talk to your financial advisor and say, I'd like to diversify the cash that I have in the bank and put it into several different asset classes so I can kind of protect myself if a bunch of crazy stuff happens. And I highly recommend it. And don't forget, cash is also an asset class. You gotta have cash to operate, right? You gotta have money regardless. You gotta have whatever your local currency is. If you're watching this video and you're in a foreign country, I'm not saying invest 100% of your money. How the heck are you gonna eat? The grocery store might not take a gold coin, okay? Or you might lose a lot of money if you try to pay with that gold coin because they won't have change, okay? So be careful with that. Okay, everybody, I hope this video helped you out. We know now what causes inflation, all kinds of stuff, prices going up of materials and labor and supply and demand. Heck, the government could print money and that'll cause inflation to go up. Because if there's more money, there's a larger supply of money, it's gonna take more of that money to buy the same stuff. Okay, everybody, I hope I helped you out. If I did, please like the video and don't forget to comment. I'd love to hear what questions you have and ideas about future videos. And also click that subscribe button so I can keep delivering you videos as I upload them. And please remember, in life and in business, it's never easy. That's okay. And when that happens and the going gets tough, never give up, keep pushing, and